I don't think they're like trying to be like, oh, we need to appease the woke and the anti-woke crowd. No, it's just trying to tell a good story. Can you give me evidence where it's trying to appease them both, other than starring white guy?
This Organized Chaos video is brought to you by JEMS Art Studio. This video is also brought to you by viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello again. I know I have quite a few requests on the queue. That being said, there's 2 videos I want to make sure to look over, or 2 creators, I guess, to look over, because I've seen their videos posted, and I definitely want to look over them. And today, I'm going to go ahead and look at Russell Brand. Who is Russell Brand? Russell Brand is perhaps most famous for being married to Katy Perry. Random fact for you. He is a comedian who had a standout role, and probably my favorite role, in Forgetting Sarah Marshall, which is a movie I haven't seen in a while. But he also had the spin-off movie, Get Him to the Greek, which was also not bad as well. That movie had a hilarious performance by Puff Daddy playing himself. It's worth checking out as well. But he's become prominent as a YouTuber. And I do want to look at him because he's interesting in that he's become very popular, and as far as I can tell, he's a lefty, so in a lot of ways we probably agree on a lot of stuff more than we disagree. But I've always found his videos, the little bit I've seen, really kind of on the shallow side. What do I mean when I say shallow? I mean, lots of times he will look at a situation and essentially see what the problem is and come up, oh yeah, this is a problem. And lots of times I feel like his solution is either nothing, or let's hug it out, or let's let the energy of the world make it better. It's not great. That being said, as far as content creators, I feel like his heart is very much in the right place. He wants to do good. I don't feel like he really hits nail on the head. But what brought me to talking about him was that recently he did a video talking about the new Top Gun movie. Top Gun. The hidden truth that nobody's talking about. So, in case you're wondering, Top Gun 2, if you've watched the podcast, actually I think that podcast specifically was actually streamed live on the main channel here that you're watching. So you could click on it here, or you can go to the podcast channel and links below. But I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. But unfortunately, the anti-woke have really taken the success of Top Gun and really dragged it out as if it's a huge success on their part, because it's somehow anti-woke. Which I don't... Because it stars a white guy? It's anti-woke? Is that the only bar we're going towards? I mean, I guess. I mean, I've already discussed how Spider-Man No Way Home has lots of woke themes and woke gender change... Or, not gender changes. Woke race changes in their characters. But because it stars a white guy, it's anti-woke. Is that the only bar it's going for? Apparently. And, it's a good movie, guys. Stop making me not want to watch it. But you know what? I want to see what does Russell Brand have to say about Top Gun Maverick, the hidden truth that nobody's talked about. Okay, let's see what you got.
Hello there, you 5.7 million awakening wonders. Thanks for joining us on this voyage of discovery and truth. Today we're talking about the cultural artifact, or film, I suppose, Top Gun Maverick.
Here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
How is it that this film, that's in some ways very conventional and traditional, a proper old school good action movie with a proper old school action movie star Tom Cruise in it, how has it become so successful in the culture war, cancellation, identity, politics, cultural division era. How has this traditional story that's about the Navy and the military, and you could argue from a cultural, critical perspective, imperialism, it ain't really, I suppose, it's a good old-fashioned action movie, but it's weird, isn't it? Because it's reached a level of economic success that few films do these days, and throughout it are themes that have become contentious in recent years. And what's a particular advantage in this particular instance is I've actually seen it. Often I review films that I ain't seen at all. So to review a film that I have seen is a particular advantage. If you don't subscribe...
God, I hope he's joking. He's not reviewing stuff he hasn't seen, or maybe he's looking at cultural impact. Okay, but let's see what he has to say.
To our channel yet, subscribe to it right now, and please turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of the videos we release every single day. You know...
Oh, he's doing that thing I always forget. So go ahead, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and like.
Our perspective is it's to review and critique culture from as objective a perspective as possible, highlighting where possible the impact of the mainstream media, the corruption and hypocrisy of government and big business, and how those three pillars intercommunicate and conspire to create ignorance and stasis among ordinary folk. But now let's put that aside and have a look at Tom Gunn wearing a jacket from Tom Gunn. I know this guy called Tom Gunn. He's one of the best actors I have ever seen in his film Top Cruise.
What do we have here? God, here I thought we were special.
Fellas, this here's Bagman.
Hangman.
Whatever.
What the hell kind of mission is this?
It's a real risk remaking films, I can tell you that from personal experience. In particular, films from the 80s. And I suppose that remaking or updating or making a sequel
I mean, he knows it's a sequel, not a remake, right?
to Top Gun came with
Okay.
all sorts of risks, like that Tom Cruise is loads older now, the world has changed dramatically, people's political perspectives have altered, and it could have seemed like an out-of-date flat film that's referencing an era that's past now and don't seem particularly relevant. But what I thought when I saw it is that it perfectly told an American myth to America in a way that it needed to be told right now. Spoiler alert. Take, for example, the sentimentality of the encounter between...
I mean, we will get to stuff at the conclusion, but I'm actually kind of shocked so far. He really hasn't said anything other than Top Gun Maverick is a movie starring Tom Gunn. You know, and that was cute, but okay.
Iceman and Maverick, where you see Val Kilmer, who obviously in real life now is sadly suffering clearly from some kind of degenerative condition. To see...
I haven't researched it. Last I heard, he's recovering.
Those two figures again, to have the recollection of them in their perfect prime, but to see a certain dignity is very evocative, isn't it? Think about what the world has been through in the last couple of years. Think about what's happening right now. There is...
That's a TV behind him, isn't it? Okay, it's a total offshoot, but I all of a sudden got trapped by the... He's not saying a whole lot. So I got captured by... That has to be... That's not a window, that's a TV. Why does he have a fake window behind him?
Legitimately a conflict in Europe that involves one of America's biggest historical enemies, Russia, of course, or the Soviet Union as it was until relatively recently. America in this film has a perfect opportunity to review and revise its place in the world. I've always thought that American movie stars are a reflection of how America sees itself. In a sense, that's what cultural mythology tells us, that the heroes in our stories are ciphers for the way we see ourselves and the way we see our culture.
Yes, this is lots of basic storytelling 101. Jesus.
Remember, Tom Cruise has been through an interesting career in the last 30 years. There's been points where he's been subject to a great deal of ridicule around Scientology, like rumours around his private life and stuff. But here, Tom Cruise is sort of once again perfectly presented as a fallible, limited, but incredibly robust and well-meaning hero. Do you see how that might relate to how America sees itself at the moment? This post-pandemic era, where there's no trust in government, no trust in big business, doubt and angst around America's campaigns in foreign wars, the kind of resource wars that started in the 90s. Perhaps all wars have been resource wars, but the kind of wars that we've been cynical about and suspicious about ever since Vietnam now mean that there ain't the kind of patriotism that's usually required to enjoy a film like this one.
Someone's not coming back from this.
Okay, can we get to it?
Looks good, didn't he, Tom Cruise? He's like aging pretty well.
With all due respect, sir, I'm not a teacher. Just want to manage expectations.
He also manages to be sort of wry and self-aware without capsizing its premise.
And we're off.
I also like hearing Highway to the Danger Zone Hans Zimmered.
Someone's not coming back from this.
There are points where that helmet pushes Tom Cruise's cheeks a bit too forward, and I can't imagine he likes that.
Oh my god, is he gonna say anything? Oh god, this has been on half the way. He's like not said anything. Yes. Culturally, the movie has significance in our culture, but all movies do to some degree. Holy shit. I mean, honestly, I can't say I'm shocked. This is a lot of what I've seen in his other stuff, where just, this is surface level shit, man.
Everyone here is the best there is. Who the hell are they going to get to teach us?
Obviously, the film has addressed many of the cultural and identity issues that it might have faced that are very prevalent in Hollywood and around casting, with the
Yes? Can we get to them?
introduction of female characters and characters of colour. And it's done this in a way that doesn't seem tokenistic or redundant or irrelevant or appeasing. Loads of you will just say it's a bloody good film. And of course it is. It's sort of kind of a simple film in loads of ways where you recognise what will happen. Maverick's going to end up being on this mission. He's obviously going to at some point come to terms.
Well, I feel like what his argument is it's not part of woke culture, which, I mean, they do have a female pilot in there. She has a significant role. I wouldn't say she has no role. But yeah, the issue with woke culture is, like I've always said, are they bringing people of color into roles of prominence or minority characters in roles of prominence purposely? Yes. That is not the problem. That is actually something they should be doing. The issue is it well written? When you have people saying they just shouldn't do it, well, the problem is, you argue that it should just be done naturally. The problem is, it's been being done naturally for decades now, and they aren't nearly represented as much as they should be. So now they're forcing the issue. Now we just have to make sure the writing catches up with the issue, with what they're doing. The issue is not representation. The issue is writing it well. But, I mean, I feel like I've dove like 5 layers deeper than this video. He's not done he's barely said anything yet. This is a movie that exists with actors and characters in it, is what he's said so far.
With
I do think it's interesting he brought up Russia when the Tom Cruise. The Top Gun movies specifically do not say who the enemy is. In the original, it's very strongly hinted that's Russia, but it's not ever said. And this one goes out of its way not to see it, even blurring times where we might be able to make out language. We don't know who the enemy is in these movies.
Rooster, Goose's son from the previous movie, all these issues are going to have to be resolved. But still it does it with such style and skill that it's enjoyable throughout it. I went and watched it with my wife. She was like...
So his argument is, this is a movie that's well done. Yes, it is. It's well done with actors in it. And Tom Cruise. I mean, holy shit, Russell. Oh, God, you've worked on, I assume, more movies than I have. I could probably count on one hand the number of movies I've worked on, buddy. I'm certain you've done more than that and been more involved than I am. You've probably produced movies. Whether or not your level of involvement in production varies. Can you give us more of a critique?
remote control flying a plane at different points. When we left the cinema, a person opened the door for us to leave, like someone, like another cinema goer, and we saluted each other on the way out. I don't think I've had that kind of experience in a cinema since Rocky IV. I saw like in Grace, where people were leaving, looking to have fights. Ironically, with Russians, as a matter of fact. It's curious, isn't it, that the enemy are not at any point named. That's one example, I suppose, of the way that political correctness and identity politics has entered the mainstream. You can't anymore say, you know, the baddies are, it's Arabian people, or it's Eastern European people, it's Slavic folk. And those kind of ideas are too challenged now. And isn't it peculiar that the reason this movie can't be shown in China...
Okay. So he brought up how they're unnamed, although he brought up Russia earlier. He really just goes on and really says very little.
China is because Tom Cruise, for reasons I don't really understand, has a Taiwanese flag on the back of his jacket. In the moments where it reflects on...
I actually didn't see that. Good. Cool. Free Taiwan.
And revisits themes and ideas, or just moments from the previous film, the speeding along on the motorbike.
Let me be perfectly blunt.
Many of the shots and characters.
Yes, it will play homage to the original because this is a sequel done nearly 40 years later, so of course it will. Russell, yes. We could get that from watching the trailer, Russell. Can we get some conversation on the themes explored in this movie? How was the cinematography, Russell? Holy shit, man, come on.
Handles that beautifully well. And I suppose like what you want when you go and see a movie like Top Gun Maverick is to be totally immersed and lost in an experience that deals with themes that are somehow identifiable, even if they're inflated into an international...
Are we going to get into what the themes are? You just brought up the themes. What are the themes of this movie, Russell?
Setting. And that's kind of what I felt. I've worked with Tom Cruise and met him and sat on my own in a car with him and seen him do impressions of moments from films. And all I felt was, I love this person. I want them to succeed in their mission against an unknown enemy. In a sense, it did its job. It pulled me along with it. But what I think is interesting is you could use this movie, if you wanted to, as a lens to examine where America is as a culture at the moment. The problem being, of course, that there no longer is one America. America is a country that is, perhaps as it has always been, determined by and defined by opposition. Perhaps once America was defined by the opposition between settlers and indigenous population, then seen as opposition between the British and the eventual victors, damn it, in the American War for Independence, and then the North versus South conflict. And now this cultural war is perhaps playing out in a way that you can say that Russia got rid of Tsarism only to replace it eventually and ultimately with Stalinism. Perhaps there are kind of topographical, psychogeographic, cultural imprints that somehow just realise themselves. Perhaps it's...
We are 8.5 minutes in, and I feel like maybe he's scratching the surface of the original theme that he wanted to talk about. What is the hidden truth that nobody's talking about, Russell? Can you get to it? Can you get to it? So far, we just have this movie that was shot that has Danger Zone in it with actors in it that you found immersive. Okay, immersive is we're approaching a review by saying it's immersive. Why was it immersive? Because you like Tom Cruise? That's... Come on, Russell.
In America's culture somehow to be divided, such a vast territory with such a varied population, with its coastal identities, its Midwest identities. It's a miracle that you can have a film as successful as this under these conditions. When you think of how few people ultimately vote, when you think of how few people can come together from different political perspectives and have a conversation that they can agree on, if people are dyed-in-the-wool Democrats versus Trumpist, libertarian, right-wing folk, now the only thing...
Oh, I would not trump I don't know. I guess libertarians become an abused word. I would not clump Trumpism with libertarianism, though. They're, at their core, it's very different ideologies.
They could possibly get together and agree on is that Top Gun Maverick is a good film, that Miles Teller does a brilliant job of being Goose's son.
My dad believed in you. I'm not gonna make the same mistake.
that the people that made this film managed to navigate expertly the cultural contradictions that define our times, where traditionalism, progressivism, respect for emergent identities that weren't acknowledged or discussed much 20, 30, 50, 100 years ago now are being talked about in different ways.
Okay, now, he is correct that they made a movie that it seems like lots of people are liking. I enjoyed it. I associate with the left primarily. It seems like the anti-woke people are just fawning all over it, so obviously the right's on board. And his argument is it's cool to make something that they all like. Excellent. I mean, he seems to be approaching this as if the movie did this on purpose. I see no evidence that the movie did this on purpose, like it was like some expert screenwriter who made sure to circumnavigate all these different political ideologies and avoid hitting all of them. No, this feels like a movie that was just a fun story written about this pilot who's been around a bit too long. They don't know exactly what to do with him, so they set up to train some younger pilots. And one of the younger pilots he has to train is the son of his former Rio, who died while they were flying together. And it gives you a nice story about these two bonding. Tom Cruise and Miles Teller really anchor this story and do a great job. It's just a good movie. It's well written. That's a big thing to talk about. It's very well written. I don't think they're like trying to be like, oh, we need to appease the woke and the anti-woke crowd. No, it's just trying to tell a good story. Can you give me evidence where it's trying to appease them both? Other than starring white guy?
Where traditional orthodox identities also have to be respected as well. All of these things are sort of deftly handled in this film, I suppose, with a gentleness of touch. One thing I will say is, why didn't I at any point hear anyone say, I feel the need for speed? Why is that not being dealt with? I almost stayed in the cinema to the very end, and I hardly ever do that just to see if someone would say, I feel the need for speed. But by that point, I was saluting people in the lobby while brushing popcorn out of my chest there. So I would say, I know you've probably seen it already based on the fact that it's made $900 million. But my opinion on Top Gun Maverick is, on one level, perfectly enjoyable, fantastic action movie, the type of action movie that evidently a lot of people want to see, and deals with the cultural complexity of our time rather expertly and brilliantly, and also is a reminder that on some sort of simple level, there are things that we can all enjoy. Is it just military propaganda? In one way, I suppose you could argue that it is. Certainly the military were involved in granting access to some of its equipment and machinery. Certainly it's true that when films like this come out, there's a spike in recruitment. Certainly it can be argued that Hollywood is the propaganda arm for the American national identity. But even within all of that, you can produce a film that can make people leave a cinema so buzzed up that they're willing to salute each other, even if they're actually in England. Come on!
Jeez! Having any fun yet?
Well, I've just come. That's Top Gun Maverick, starring a man that I once, even in this video, called Tom Gunn. I hope you've enjoyed that. Let me know what you thought.
Okay. He's at his outro. Jesus, that is just like every other video I've seen him do. I can't say I'm surprised. That is such a surface level analysis. Like, he's talking about how it seems like lots of people divide in this country are all come back saying that they like this movie. And his analysis of it is, it navigates this between the two well. And it's like, how? How does it do that? I would argue it's just a well-written, fun movie. That's what I would argue. And it's the same thing with Spider-Man No Way Home. It's just a well-written, fun movie. I could argue that there are woke progressive elements in Top Gun 2. Mainly the female pilot, which honestly they get caught up in just a female being anywhere somewhat prominent. Yeah, I don't think it's like some sort of expert, skillful navigation. It's just a well-written story. It deals with themes of possibly Pete, Maverick, being obsolete and figuring out his place in the future. Does he have a future in flying? Is this the end of the road for him? It deals with a lot of stuff like that. It deals with him bonding. That's the most important thing. It's him bonding with the son of his former partner, which is a great story. It's a good movie. And I don't know why I would expect any more than the most surface level, shallow analysis from Russell Brand, because that's usually what he does in his videos, and he does it with political analysis, and now he does it with movies too. So, I mean, he means well. I don't have any real objection to Russell Brand other than it just feels so shallow.
They think order and chaos are somehow opposites and try to control what won't be.
I used to fuck guys like you in prison.